the Chicago. Let's move on to the Chicago Bears. Their training camp has kicked off with a lot of young talent on their team, led by Justin Fields, Velus Jones, Darnell Mooney. Hey, I will say they did have big names show up to camp that we didn't originally think that would. Guys like Robert Quinn ended up showing up. It's good news for the Chicago Bears. I have one good bullet point on the Bears training camp. And if we can think of others, by all means, shoot for the stars. But really, this is about Justin Fields. Like, that is the biggest thing with the Bears as a team that didn't do a whole lot in the offseason to really get better. Some may say they did a whole lot to get worse, but Justin Fields, their franchise quarterback, is still there. He's very young, very promising. Aaron, what do you look for from Justin Fields in year 2 of training camp?
I don't think it's about Justin Fields. It's about the new offensive coordinator. It's about Luke Getsy coming in and doing the things that fit Justin Fields, the scheme for Justin Fields, right? They've talked about him coming in and running the Shanahan-style offense, zone blocking, allowing him to get out in space, do things like that. I think that's the smart move. You have to allow a guy like Justin Fields to be Justin Fields. I don't care if you got to treat him like Lamar Jackson. Tell him to run the football and then take the easy throws when they're there. If they do that, they're going to be successful. We saw it towards the end of last year, and I'm not saying that he was dominating by any stretch of the imagination, but he started to have games that looked a little bit better. He was starting to get more comfortable in reads, getting more comfortable being out in space when they finally said, you know what, we're going to let this guy play. And I think that's important for them. So it's really just about doing the things that Justin Fields is comfortable with. In college, they ran a pro-style offense, but they weren't shying away from moving him and getting him out in space and things like that. And that's what's important to him. At the end of last year, minus the 3 games that obviously he missed, he started to throw for 200-plus yards 3 of his last 4 games that he played. He was throwing for more touchdowns, 4 touchdowns to just 3 picks the last 4 games that he played. I think that Justin Fields will take the next step. He's seen defenses. And let's be honest, he gets to play Minnesota twice a year, Detroit twice a year, who might be better, but he does have some easier games that he can get comfortable with and make an impact on that offense. This is all about how they use Justin Fields. I don't think the talent has ever been a question. I said I thought he would be a bust coming out because of Ohio State and just because it's about situation. What I did?
You pissed on Ohio State all day today.
It's all just the translation to NFL talent at certain positions doesn't usually work. It doesn't always work. So I said that, but it was more about how he's going to be used than it is about his actual talent. So if they use him right, he has the talent to be great. But we saw last year they didn't use him right, and he looked like he was lost.
I agree. It's not about the talent. And, you know, we won't say this is a small thing, but some people may not look at it the same way. But I think this is the perfect year for one of the biggest steps for Justin Fields is going to be the intangibles. With a whole new offensive scheme, a whole new basically receiving core, can you be that young leader? You know, you got these guys who are coming in. Can you lead by example? Can you get these guys to buy in and do the things that are necessary to look like an NFL team? Like, all respect given, we're not thinking that the Chicago Bears are going to leap forward and be in contention for anything. We were shocked when Mitchell Trubisky did it his last year, to be honest. So if he can get these guys in the right step, and now this system's being put together, now next year when they go and actually get him some other weapons, they actually – you know, hopefully won't have too much work to do on that defensive side of the ball that next year. Then you can start talking about what Justin Fields brings to the game as a passer of the football, as a guy with the instincts who can take off and run with the football, as a talent. So I think this year you focused on those things. What did you learn last year from playing the game? But you also focus on being the leader and being the guy that takes hold of this team going forward.
What measurable is that, though? Like, I hear what you're saying, and we know we talk about that with quarterbacks. I'll be honest, I couldn't care less what his leadership looks like this year. I want to see steps as an NFL passer. Because
that's fine.
He's year 2. Like, I don't want my young quarterback worried about I have to be a leader of a team, like carrying him on because that's the situation that he's in because they're so bad from a roster standpoint. This is what happens. We put these young quarterbacks on rosters that have that are so bad, and we ask them
Blake
be a
Bortles
leader,
all over again.
Yeah,
be a
Blaine
leader,
Gabbert.
but not only be a leader, but also learn the game and focus on the X's and O's of learning the NFL game. I want him to learn that because the leadership that he had at Ohio State ain't going anywhere. I don't need him to lead Velus Jones. Velus Jones, I think, is older than him.
That's a big deal.
Oldest guy in their roster.
I'm looking for
Peyton
Robert
Quinn.
Quinn on defense to be a leader. I'm looking for some of
That's-
those other veterans to be a leader. I don't want Justin Fields right now focusing on, I got to lead this team. I want him to say, I need to study. I need to learn the playbook. I need to know where to go with the football, when to go with it. Let my coaches coach and be leaders while I learn how to play football at this level. And then I can grow into that leadership role. Similar to Josh Allen.
But that's why it's called an intangible. It's not that he has to stop everything else to do this. It's that you want to be seeing these things coming out of him from week to week. You want to see that it's there. You want to know that you're not going to have to always take him aside once you know the talent's good. I'm not saying, hey, we know you can run the ball. Hey, can you go have a conversation with this guy? But I do want to see when things aren't going right that he's the first one to say something. He's the first one to speak up. And it not every single time, but we need to know it's there. We talked constantly last season about this organization being in flux. This is a new start. Yes, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, they have the biggest chunk of that to take care of. Absolutely. But if there was ever a time for you as a leader, as a QB1, to be able to have your say in it, it's now. It's not going to be 3 years down the road. You have to do it now. You have to start now at the very least.
I just don't know that he has the clout. I don't know that there's the respect there. I don't know that to me, it's very similar to the Josh Allen situation. Josh Allen was a very quiet individual in Buffalo for the first 2 to 3 years. He took the big step, and then you saw a different Josh Allen. Like, he was comfortable in his own skin. He knew how to play the position, and then he translated that into his leadership. And for me, a quarterback is so hard in the NFL that I want Justin Fields to know how to play the position. And to your point, yes, he's the quarterback. He's going to say things. He's going to pick guys up. I get that. I just don't want that to be the sole focus of him. I want him to focus on the extra.
I agree with that.
And I do agree. He's going to be a leader by nature because he's the quarterback.
I don't trust his coaches. I don't trust his roster. If he has to do this, it has to be strictly him. I don't trust Luke Getsy. I don't trust the defensive-minded head coach of Matt Eberflus. I don't trust his coaching staff here.
Luke Getsy comes from good coaching tree. Like, it's not, he's been in Green Bay. He's got to work with Aaron Rodgers. That's an offense under LaFleur who's had success. I like the hire there. Eberflus to me is all about the defense. Continuing to build that Bears defense is what it is. I just don't like putting everything on a young quarterback like that. When you do that, if you're not named Peyton Manning, and you know what I mean? Like, how many rookies go through what Peyton Manning did and bounce back and come through and actually overcome something like that?
Hopefully,
Lawrence,
we're hoping.
Yeah.
But I think
Too late. You said rookie.
you guys brought up the leadership thing, and I think it is good that Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith ended up showing up to training camp on Tuesday for them. That's a big deal for this Bears team, because even though no matter where we think this team is going to end up at the end of the season, you need your leaders to be there and show up at day one, no matter what. Like, it sucks that they're going through this contract, the contract negotiations, and it's not going their way right now, but they're showing up for the team to help lead this young group into a new direction, hopefully on the rise. That's the Chicago Bears. We go from one young team to another.